Hi everyone, welcome to another Zentangle Quickie. My name is Heather Hartwick Gladden. I'm a Certified Zentangle Teacher, and today we are going to look at the Tangle Fairy Wings by Joan Stark. What a fun tangle this is, and we will go ahead and get started. I decided, usually on these quickies, I'm using a bijou tile, a little, here we can compare. It's a little 2x2 tile, but I decided to use the Zendala because this tangle calls for it, and it is just really fun. So this one starts off with a shape. Sometimes I was calling it an amoeba because that's kind of what it looks like. Just a shape. And I'm using actually this is a burgundy PN pen. And so I'm just going to start. And so just kind of like a blob, we'll call it that. And one thing that I find that I need to remind myself of is when I start something like this, and then you kind of come all the way around. This is like slow down so I can look at where I'm going to land. And actually, sometimes I do that like right about here, so that way I can kind of plan it. Because I know a couple times doing this, I ended up with just having this weird like corner, and I wasn't liking that. Second step with this is we're going to do another shape overlapping this. But what we want to do is we want to crisscross periodically. And I'm going to actually want to do this one a little bit wider than when I was playing with it. And then, yeah, again, coming up, it was like, all right, let's get that to line right up there. So like this. Now, next step, and this one, usually when we do something on a Renaissance tile, when I teach the Renaissance classes, we alternate with, a brown, and black, and it just has a nice look. And so in the black, make sure that is black. Yes. I'm going to add in, now I did this in seeds. If you, when I look at the original step out, she called them thin eights. So if you want to, you could do that. It gives it a little bit more rounded shape at the top. So that's up to you. And I share that so that way you have the option. For me personally, because I want to have in all of these intersections, this is what we're going to do. And I'll do it one step at a time here. I just want to make sure that these seeds, that they're right in there on that intersection. And I fear that if I was to do an 8, I wouldn't land that, the intersection that would come in an 8, I wouldn't land that on the mark. So that's why I just wanted to do these seeds. And actually, what I read about it after I had started to do it, and I just assumed that that's what these were. And then when I was reading her description, I was like, oh, okay, well, that's interesting. So we're just doing those, in the intersection, kind of going in 90 degrees from where the ribbon is, and that's what I'm calling the other side. Oh, look at that. That's neat. That's okay. Things happen. And sometimes talking and doing it at the same time doesn't line up. Okay, so I've done them the one direction, and now it's the same thing. Going to do the same idea crosswise. And this I noticed in and I will do my best to remember to put the link to those original patterns from Tangle Patterns, just to make it easy for you. If you go and look, sorry, I was getting off the screen there. Because she had one of the examples that she had where these were not on the intersection like this. And actually her ribbon part was a lot thinner, so it just had a little bit different take. And sometimes I think it's so neat to be able to just go and look at different ways that the person who deconstructed and created the tangle did it. It's just nice for extra inspiration. All right, so once you have this part done, then we're going to go back around, and I think she called them flame tips. And so this could be also two ways. One is doing a flame tip, which is essentially an S shape. So I'm going to come out here and go up, and then come from that side and go up. I start my pen right here in the base, and then I travel up, tracing over a little bit of that seed right in the base like that. So so those can be touching. And I'll do that one here. If you've done the Tangle poke root or poke leaf, excuse me, it's a similar stroke. I'm actually no, I'm drawing it the same way I would. Sometimes I will flip it upside down and like this, so that way it feels more like an S. And that's however your hand does it better, then go ahead and do that. And let's see. Oh, now here's a course correction moment. So this one I did it. It's actually what would be neat, and this is where like doing the 8s. If you want to have this rounded look, then by all means, that do it that way. It is one of those things where you can always try it different at different time. But as there is no such thing as a mistake in Zentangle, one of the things to think about when you have something happen like this that you're like, oh, I really didn't want it to look like that. Is in knowing what some of what I call course corrections are. So a course correction here could be, and I'll show you some of my examples of some of the done works at the end. But so you can color in, either this section or both. And that's where, so if I'm coloring in, say, this outer area, then I can reshape this inner part. So sometimes knowing that is helpful, so that way we don't get all stressed out thinking we goofed something up. Because, like I said, no such thing as a mistake in Zentangle. We just find a way to work with it. And so just going around, I should have mentioned also that first step, you can combine the two. You don't have to unless you want to. Go around doing putting the seeds this way, and then go around and doing this way. I did it just because that's how I have it on the step outs, but you can combine the two. That is perfectly fine. I think the other thing that I was going to mention is you could also, like this, I'm putting this little extra flare at the end, making it more like like she called it, a flame tip. But you could, if you want to, and I'm going to do it on this one, you could essentially aura this. So like that. Making a larger seed over, what you have. So that is another option. If doing that, the kind of the S-shape flame tip type of thing is not comfortable, then you can always do this and have a fantastic result as well. Do that on a couple other ones. I should have alternated them, but that's okay. Heck, you could do the seed and add a little line at the end that would kind of give it that flame type look. Because it kind of does. This just, if you do it with that little S curve in there, it just adds a little bit more flair. So one of the reasons that I love this tangle is it's whimsical in nature anyway. So and so then it kind of exemplifies the idea of there's no such thing as a mistake in Zentangle, because it just has this whimsical look in general. And, it just makes it a lot easier. So if something goes awry, well, that's okay. It'll just all blend in. No one will notice. And everything looks like, you meant it that way. So the last step in this one, official last step, is to draw 3 loose ends. That's what she called them. So out of each group of I would call them fairy wings. I want to call them flowers because that's what they look like. So loose ends could be anything. It could just be like that, just a loose end. Or if you wanted to add, and again, it's just 3 of them. If you wanted to add with a curlicue on the end, so this is, it's a big curved line and then turning into a spiral. Or, and I'm going to draw this one up here. Which direction am I going to draw it? Like this. Fescue, which that was a recent Zentangle Quickie. Excuse me. Now, with fescue, what can come out of fescue is a tangle called Zinger. And it's exactly the same idea here, but you put a little cap on. So we're just going to add a little curve line, so essentially aura-ing this, and then you just, in diminishing size, Actually, no, we do one, maybe a little bit bigger, and then go, in smaller sizes. And it just adds to the whimsy of this. And then too, these you can have them go in whatever direction that you want to have them go. Try to do that again a little bit. There we go. That one I liked a little bit better. It's the same thing. This, well, I got that one line a little crooked. It doesn't matter because it's all whimsical and just a heck of a lot of fun. Like I said, you can just leave them blank like that and have them just trailing off. And different sizes, it doesn't matter. Just this is one of those where try to have fun and not think too much about it. And then there's lots of opportunity for play. And then once this is done, it's time for another singer. But again, it's just 3, and that's it. And what's kind of neat is then you can, since you're only doing 3, you just kind of get to decide, well, where do I want those at? And there we go. So that is essentially it. Other things you can do, and I'll show you from what I have done earlier. I did this also on a Renaissance towel because I wanted to have fun with it. Because on the original step outs, there was no shading really. It was just kind of like this. But let me show you some things that you can do. So this is what I did earlier on. This was a white Zendala, and I decided to shade in the ribbon and then color in the outside petal or outside of the wing, if you will. That helps to see both. So I decided to color those, and then I used a couple chalk pencils and did this thing on the outside, and with the tortillon just kind of smoothed it out, but then pushed it in, and as you can see, just leaving a little bit of a halo around the pattern, just because I thought this just looks like spring, and I needed a blue sky, and so that's why I added it. So that is just a heck of a lot of fun. And then I decided to do it on a black tile. And working on the black is a little bit different. This I used jelly roll pens. So one of the things I like about this is just the really fine line. And this I used the Micron 01 on it. So you can kind of see the difference between the PN. It's a little bit thicker. And it just depends on what look you're going for. So again, this was with jelly rolls. They are, are they like a 3mm? I used gray for most of the drawing, and I had some green here. I used some of the some chalk pencil as I was starting. I haven't finished that, to do some little shading on the ribbon part, and did some coloring in with some various metallics and jelly roll pens that work good on black. Always good if you're doing that. Test them. I always test them on the back just to see how they look on the black. Because some of them, even though they say they work on black, well, actually, now that they're dry, they do look a little bit different. That's one thing you have to be careful on with those. The stuff on black is be patient. Let it, soak in, dry, and then see what it looks like before you do more stuff with it. So anyway, so there we have fairy wings. Hope you enjoyed. And happy tangling. Do appreciate any comments in the comment section. In the description, I'll put a link to these step outs and any other good information on this tangle that I have. And saying if you're there's also in the description ways to connect. So if you're on Facebook and want to join our Tangle Addicts community and join the conversation and share your work, have some fun, would love to have you. So like, share, subscribe, hit the bell and all that. I appreciate it. And happy tangling.